Good morning and welcome to Red Cloud's 2022 Pre-PDAC Mining Showcase. My name is Alina Islam and I'm a Senior Research Associate here at Red Cloud Securities. Next, we are pleased to host Canadian Palladium and have with us Jamie Newall and Richard Sutcliffe from the company. Jamie and Richard, you will have 15 minutes for your presentation followed by a 5-minute Q&A session. Attendees, please feel free to ask your questions using the Q&A link, and at the end, we'll get to as many as we can. With that, gentlemen, I'll turn it over to you to start the presentation.
Thank you, Alina. Welcome to our presentation today. Just a bit about our company. We are focused on two key minerals, palladium with our East Bull project in Canada, and cobalt and copper in our Tesova project on the Czech-German border. Today, we're going to mainly focus on the East Bull project, as we just updated our 43101, and also our Tesova project was on the hold through the COVID pandemic due to the very strict rules in the Czech Republic. It didn't allow us to progress any further with the project, although we do hope to progress that this year. Just very briefly on palladium, I think it's important to note that palladium is a key metal in the production of cars used in catalytic converters, and the price has been somewhat volatile recently, but particularly this year. The price dropped last year due to the lack of superconductors, meaning a drop-off in car manufacturing. But as the world was recovering from COVID, that started to increase. However, the tragic events in Ukraine and the sanctions on Russia will have and are having a significant effect on the price of palladium. It's almost hitting, in fact, today it's in excess of $2,800 an ounce, up over 30% this year, and will probably break its record ever price, if not today, probably tomorrow. And this is because Russia produces over 50% of the world's supply of palladium. And as palladium has been in supply deficit the last 6 years, Russia also has the largest stockpile of palladium as well to fill that supply deficit. So we'll have a big effect on the price, and particularly in Europe, where I'm sitting, but also North America, we're seeing increasingly companies and governments concerned about the security of supply, bringing their supply chains closer to home and ensuring that the critical minerals and metals for those supply chains are in safe jurisdictions. And that obviously will be a big issue for palladium, and both palladium and cobalt were included in the USA's critical minerals list they published in late February of this year. So I think a big geopolitical issue affecting the mining sector writ large, but affecting palladium particularly. I don't want to really say more than that, although I'm very happy to answer questions. I'd rather hand you over to Richard, who will talk about our East Bull project in Canada. Richard is one of the most experienced geologists in this area, having worked on PGM deposits in the Sudbury Basin for a large part of his career. So on that basis, I'll hand you over to Richard.
Yes, thanks, Jamie. Welcome, everybody. I'm pleased to be able to give you a presentation on our East Bull Palladium property located 90 kilometers west of Sudbury. As you're likely well aware, this is one of the best locations in the world for exploring and advancing a platinum group metal project located just outside of Sudbury with the world-class processing, mining, exploration, and smelting infrastructure. The East Bull PGM property is located just about 30 kilometers north of the Trans-Canada Highway, just outside of Sudbury. Excellent road, rail, power access, and proximity. This property covers about 990 hectares and currently fully permitted for drilling. Next slide, please. This is a great time to be updating you because we've just completed a new 43101 resource estimate. The results were press released Wednesday this week, and I'm going to be taking you through some of those results. This property has a very high PGM tenor, and the mineralization consists of 7 metals, so it's more than just palladium, but palladium is the dominant value contributor at East Bull. This graph shows the metal value contribution of each of the metals. This is based on expected on grades, current metal prices, and expected recoveries, both process and smelter. You can see that palladium dominates, and it is over 50% of the mineralization value. We got very significant contributions from copper, rhodium, platinum, nickel, gold, and cobalt as well. At current price, current commodity pricing, actually rhodium would be the second most important value contributor to East Bull. The mineralization is associated with disseminated sulfides. These have a very high PGM tenor, so a small amount of sulfide gives rise to significant PGM concentrations. Next slide, please. Canadian Palladium acquired this property in 2019, and we initiated a drilling program in early 2020, so just over a couple of years. In that time, we've drilled over 20,000 meters. This program's ongoing. We've had excellent drill results throughout the program. This has resulted in extending the deposit significantly over strike from about 2 kilometers when the property was acquired to now over 3.5 kilometers. We filled in a number of mineralization gaps in that strike length and extended the deposit down dip. Additionally, we've discovered some new zones, and this is actually very important because we have discovered magmatic sulfide mineralization in some underlying mineralized dike feeder conduits for the mineralization, and that's leaving us with some pretty significant exploration targets to carry on our program with, and I'll outline that in this presentation. So as I indicated, the 43-101 has been recently updated. These results were released in this week. The table shows the 2022 results compared with the 2019 results when the property was acquired by Canadian Palladium. Essentially, now over 30 million tons of mineralization at a grade just shy of 1 gram per ton palladium equivalent, using a revised commodity price deck here with palladium at actually now conservatively valued at $18.40 an ounce for the purposes of the 43-101. We had a very significant increase in palladium equivalent ounces, and we're very pleased to have put this property over the 1 million ounce palladium equivalent threshold. In addition, this resource resulted in more than 50% of the mineralization being characterized as indicated, where it was all previously inferred. The size of the deposit was extended with a minimum grade reduction, only about 11% drop in palladium grade concentration. Most of that attributed to a ability to use a lower cutoff grade for the resource over the 2019 resource numbers. The palladium price doubled since 2019, and this allowed for cutoff to be reduced for this resource. Most of the mineralization is pit constrained, so we do have at this stage we have constrained that with Whittle pit models, but we do have some out of pit mineralization underneath the pit, and that is going to be a continued exploration target. The interesting one of the important comparisons here, we did increase the palladium ounce content by 2.7 times the 2019 estimate. So I think that's a good indicator of our drill success. Next slide, please. This graphically shows where we went from 2019 to the 2022 resource. As I indicated, extended the strike length from just 2.2 kilometers with some gaps, fill those gaps in, extended the strike length to over 3.5 kilometers of near continuous mineralization. And importantly, at the west end there, you can see this new EO8 zone, which is the one of these feeder conduits that we've started to define resources on. Next slide, please. This shows the excellent geometry of this deposit from a standpoint of a potential open pit. You can see the deposit contact style mineralization dips 45° north. Very significant mineralization widths. Those squares on here are 50 meters, so 50 to 75 meters of true width mineralization. The footwall of the deposit basically follows what would be a pit wall in this Whittle pit design. Good grade of mineralization right to surface. This shows the outline of the mineralization and some of the zone names superimposed on a total field mag map representing the extent of Canadian Palladium's property. We've shown the drilling results from the current program. I won't go through those, but some of the highlights are indicated here. See very consistent mineralization. The Garden and Valhalla zone are a east-west striking contact style mineralization located near the base of this Proterozoic East Bull intrusion. Occurs on the north side of a mag high, shown by the red colors, kind of on the gradient, moving to lower mag signature. You can see that we primarily drill this with a north to south directed drill pattern. That's because the zone striking east-west dips 45° north. Most of those drill holes gave us near true widths. Also indicated here, the end of hole zone at the west side and what we're calling the gap target in the center. These would be the 60° striking feeder conduits that are underlying the Garden zone and Valhalla zone. And that's where some of our future exploration upside is derived. This shows the same map with a composite section. You can see the Valhalla zone sits in front of behind the Garden zone. There's an offset due to a fault that separates those two. You can see that the drill pattern gives near true widths of this 45° dipping zone. Define the deposit down to about 200 meters depth. Our drilling very successfully targeted and defined these, and we've got mineralization still remains open down dip and along strike. Next slide, please, Jamie. This is a similar depiction, but shows the EOH zone, which is a tabular, near vertically dipping mineralized body that underlies the Garden zone. The key thing here is that these conduits have localized semi-massive mineralization. We think set up a good opportunity to potentially discover high-grade semi-massive or massive sulfide mineralization in this system. We've started to define some resources at the end of hole zone, but it still remains fully open at depth. We think those structures have a 5 to 7 million ton size potential with further drilling. This shows a graphical depiction of a couple of holes through the end of hole zone where it meets with the Garden zone. Get some high grades associated with this. You can see the pictures show the inclusions and blobs of semi-massive or globular sulfides, and some of our best intersections are in close proximity to these feeder systems, so lots of upside there. We've used MT to look at some of the deeper crustal structure and targets underneath the contact mineralization. This disseminated sulfides respond well to resistivity type exploration methods, IP, and in this case, MT allowing us a deeper look into the system. I just mentioned we do have metallurgy underway, showing that the PGM is very closely associated with copper-nickel sulfides, and metallurgical test work showing good recoveries and the ability to generate some high concentration, good concentrate grades with excellent concentration ratios. Very important for this kind of deposit. Our next steps are going to, in exploration, are going to be a little bit of a switch in the strategy from previous focus was expanding disseminated bulk tonnage resources along strike. Next phase, we're going to chase some of these higher grade conduits, reduce drill targeting risk by utilizing borehole IP geophysics and for disseminated mineralization and probably some EM for to test for conductive and semi-massive sulfide concentrations. This will require a bit deeper drilling with a northwest-southeast orientation to test these steeply dipping targets. And really the concept here is kind of similar to, targeting a lactazile type development scenario where you've got bulk tonnage PGM surface deposit which overlies some higher grade underground mineralization. And I think that's that's a very exciting target for us to take this project in the next exploration steps. And then finally, we just leave you with a graphical representation of the deposit where we started with in 2019 and the results of our 20,000 meter drilling program, which has really filled us out along strike, extended it down dip, and we think the updated 43-101 resource highlights East Bull as a great palladium dominant exploration opportunity, and with considerable upside for further high grade mineralization. And with that, I'll turn it back to Jamie.
Yeah, thank you, Rich. That's fantastic. I mean, really open the floor to any questions, Alina.
Alina, you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, gentlemen, for a great presentation. First question, Richard, you had a slide up there on what's coming up next in terms of exploration. Could you potentially break it out in terms of timing for us? Like, what are you planning, let's say, in the next 6 months or so?
Well, thanks, Alina. So, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, we've just literally gotten off the, the completion of the 43-101 and the definition of some of these new zones and targets. So at this point, we're actually formulating an exploration plan on here. It's going to start first with some borehole focused geophysics to target some of these opportunities. This slide shows some excellent mineralization from the gap target, actually the highest grade intersection that we achieved at East Bull with 18 grams per ton in palladium equivalent and some semi-massive mineralization. So these are the kinds of things we're going to look at first, do some geophysics to define targets, and then we'll be putting together a drill program and coming up with some budgets. But I can see that certainly, that would certainly be something that we'd like to see get underway as soon as field conditions permit.
Okay. Any exploration plans at your cobalt project?
Yeah, we hoped, as I said in the introduction, we weren't allowed to drill, we even operate in the Czech Republic for most of the last 2 years. So we are currently applying for the new drilling permits. It shouldn't be a problem to allow us to drill, if not Q2, certainly Q3 of this year. And also we've been working closely with the EU and their batteries initiative, which is a EU-funded grant program intending to support the entire battery metal sector from exploration all the way through to recycling. And we hope to have some news from that as well, if not this quarter, next quarter. So some exciting developments with the TSABRE project, but nothing that we can release quite yet.
All right, sounds good. With that, gentlemen, we are out of time. So I just want to thank you again for hosting and presenting to us today. Next up, as a reminder, we have Vox Royalty and Heritage Mining. Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity to present, and please send us any questions.